The world is louder than it has ever been. And in 2026, your silence is your greatest strategic advantage. There is a profound psychological trap called social reality. When you announce your goals to the world, your brain receives a premature hit of dopamine. It mistakes the applause of your peers for the actual achievement of the goal. This trick of the mind robs you of the hunger required to do the work. By speaking, you exhaust the energy you should be using to build. In this coming year, you must understand that silence is not an absence of thought, it is the concentration of power. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking external validation. You transition from a person who reacts to the world to a person who observes it. Science suggests that the most creative states are reached in periods of low external stimulation. By shutting out the noise, you allow your prefrontal cortex to operate at its highest level. You begin to see patterns others miss. You notice opportunities in the market that are drowned out by the screams of the crowd. Silence allows you to build a fortress around your mind. In 2026, don't tell them what you're doing. Show them what you've done. The world is louder than it has ever been, and in 2026, your silence is your greatest strategic advantage. There is a profound psychological trap called social reality. When you announce your goals to the world, your brain receives a premature hit of dopamine. It mistakes the applause of your peers for the actual achievement of the goal. This trick of the mind robs you of the hunger required to do the work. By speaking, you exhaust the energy you should be using to build. In this coming year, you must understand that silence is not an absence of thought. It is the concentration of power. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking external validation. You transition from a person who reacts to the world to a person who observes it. Science suggests that the most creative states are reached in periods of low external stimulation. By shutting out the noise, you allow your prefrontal cortex to operate at its highest level. You begin to see patterns others miss. You notice opportunities in the market that are drowned out by the screams of the crowd. Silence allows you to build a fortress around your mind. In 2026, don't tell them what you're doing. Show them what you've done. The world is louder than it has ever been, and in 2026, your silence is your greatest strategic advantage. There is a profound psychological trap called social reality. When you announce your goals to the world, your brain receives a premature hit of dopamine. It mistakes the applause of your peers for the actual achievement of the goal. This trick of the mind robs you of the hunger required to do the work. By speaking, you exhaust the energy you should be using to build. In this coming year, you must understand that silence is not an absence of thought. It is the concentration of power. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking external validation. You transition from a person who reacts to the world to a person who observes it. Science suggests that the most creative states are reached in periods of low external stimulation. By shutting out the noise, you allow your prefrontal cortex to operate at its highest level. You begin to see patterns others miss. You notice opportunities in the market that are drowned out by the screams of the crowd. Silence allows you to build a fortress around your mind. In 2026, don't tell them what you're doing. Show them what you've done. There is a psychological distinction between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a state of lack. Solitude is a state of abundance. In 2026, you must master the art of being alone. Solitude is the forge where the soul is tempered. It is only when you are away from the influence of others that you can truly discover what is yours and what has been programmed into you by society. Psychologically, solitude allows for autobiographical planning, the ability to look at your life as a narrative and decide where the next chapter goes. When you are constantly surrounded by people, you are living a collaborative script. But when you stay silent and stay focused, you reclaim the pen. Use this year to face your shadows. Deal with the traumas and the procrastinations you've been masking with noise. This internal work is painful, which is why most people avoid it, but it is the only way to achieve true mental toughness. 2026 is the year you stop running from yourself and start becoming the person you were meant to lead. True power is quiet. In 2026, let the results of your discipline do the talking. There is a psychological phenomenon where people feel a deep sense of respect for those who are mysterious and consistent. By staying silent, you build social capital. When you finally do speak, your words carry the weight of a mountain because they are backed by action. The year 2026 should be your black box year. You go in as one person, and you emerge as another, with no one seeing the process in between. This creates a psychological gap between you and your competition. They will see your success and call it luck because they didn't see the silent hours of labor. Let them think that. Your goal is not to be understood. Your goal is to be effective. As the year closes, look at your bank account, your physique, and your mental clarity. These are your trophies. You didn't need a stadium of people cheering for you to get here. You did it in the dark, in the quiet, and in the relentless pursuit of your own potential. Silence was your strategy. Success is your reality. The year 2026 has arrived, and the greatest battlefield in human history isn't located on a map. It is located in the 6 inches between your ears. We have entered an era where your attention is not just a commodity, it is the ultimate currency. Every app on your phone, every algorithm on your feed, and every trending outrage is a sophisticated psychological hook designed to keep you in a state of perpetual reaction. To stay silent in 2026 is to commit an act of digital rebellion. It is to practice digital stoicism, the art of becoming a ghost in the machine. Most people are digital slaves. They wake up and immediately surrender their mind to the world. Before they even step out of bed, they have consumed the opinions of strangers, the anxieties of the news, and the carefully curated lies of influencers. They are mentally exhausted before their day has even begun. But you are choosing a different path. You're realizing that every time you check your phone, you are actually checking out of your own life. You are allowing the world to dictate your mood, your focus, and your priorities. Psychologically, the human brain was never designed to process the collective noise of 8 billion people. When you immerse yourself in the digital stream, you are subjecting your nervous system to a system overload. Your cortisol levels spike, your ability to think deeply withers, and your willpower battery drains into the void of the scroll. This is why you feel busy but unproductive. This is why you feel connected but lonely. Digital stoicism is the cure. It is the decision to treat your attention like a high-end investment. You don't spend it on cheap content. You don't waste it on viral negativity. You guard it with the ferocity of a king guarding his treasury. In 2026, staying silent means opting out of the opinion trap. The internet demands that you have a stance on everything. It wants you to pick a side, join a tribe, and scream into the digital canyon. Digital stoicism teaches you the power of strategic indifference. You must reach a point where you can look at a global controversy and feel absolutely nothing. Not because you are heartless, but because you are disciplined. You realize that your opinion changes nothing, but your focused work changes everything. By refusing to participate in the noise, you reclaim the cognitive energy that others are throwing away. Think about the flow state, that magical window of time, where hours feel like minutes and your work becomes a masterpiece. Flow is the superpower of the 21st century. But flow is a shy goddess. She will not visit a mind that is constantly buzzing with notifications. If you check your phone once every 15 minutes, you are effectively living your life in a state of cognitive fragmentation. You are never fully present. You are never truly deep. By choosing silence, by putting your devices in another room, and by embracing the boredom of deep work, you are training your brain to do what 99% of the population can no longer do: focus. The attention economy thrives on your fear of missing out, FOMO. It whispers that if you aren't online, you're becoming irrelevant. This is the ultimate lie. In 2026, the only way to become truly relevant is to become exceptionally rare. And nothing is rarer than a person who can sit in a quiet room for 4 hours and produce something of immense value. While your competitors are chasing the latest TikTok trend, you are in the shadows, mastering a skill that will be valuable for the next 30 years. Your silence is your shield. Your focus is your sword. 2026, be the year you ghost the world to find yourself. Unfollow the people who make you feel inadequate. Delete the apps that turn you into a spectator. Block the noise that interrupts your vision. When you go silent, you stop being a consumer and you start being a creator. You move from the audience to the stage. But you don't step onto that stage until you are ready. You stay in the black box. You let the world wonder where you went. You let them speculate. You let them talk. Their talk is empty. Your silence is full of intent. Digital stoicism is not about living in a cave. It's about living in the world without letting the world live in your head. It is about using technology as a tool, not a tether. It is about the cold, hard realization that if you do not control your attention, someone else will, and they will use it to build their dreams while yours rot in the corner. This year, turn off the lights, turn off the screen, and turn on your mind. The silence you find there isn't empty. It's the sound of a genius finally getting to work. In the year 2026, the world views being alone as a tragedy. They call it isolation. They call it loneliness. They fear it because they have never met themselves. But for the elite, for the top 1% who will dominate this decade, being alone is not a punishment. It is an alchemy. It is the process of turning the base metal of a common man into the gold of a master. To stay silent is to enter the forge. To focus on yourself is to pick up the hammer. Psychologically, most people use the presence of others as a mirror to tell them who they are. They look at their friends, their family, and their social circles to validate their existence. But when you step into true solitude, that mirror is shattered. You are left with nothing but the raw, unedited version of your own soul. This is the moment of truth. Most people run back to the noise because they cannot stand the silence of their own mediocrity. But you must stay. You must sit in that silence until the noise of your ego dies down and the voice of your potential begins to speak. In 2026, solitude is the ultimate cognitive reset. When you are constantly surrounded by the opinions, energies, and vibrations of other people, your mind becomes a polluted well. You begin to mistake their desires for your own. You chase their goals. You fear their enemies. Solitude is the filtration system. It allows the sediment of society to settle so that the water of your own intuition becomes crystal clear. This is where monk mode begins. It is a psychological quarantine. You are separating yourself from the mental virus of the masses to ensure your own vision remains untainted. There is a biological transformation that occurs when you embrace solitude. Your brain moves from a state of hypervigilance, always scanning for social cues and approval, to a state of internal integration. This is where neuroplasticity peaks. When you are alone and focused, your brain creates new neural pathways at an accelerated rate. You learn faster, you think deeper, you solve problems that baffled you for years. While the world is out at parties, draining their dopamine in shallow exchanges, you are in your room, literally rewiring your brain for dominance. The alchemical power of solitude also allows you to face your shadow. We all have parts of ourselves we are ashamed of. Our laziness, our fears, our insecurities. In a group, we can hide these shadows. We can mask them with laughter and conversation. But in the silence of 2026, your shadow will find you. This is the most critical stage of your transformation. Instead of running, you must engage. You must interrogate your own failures. Even ask yourself, why am I afraid? Why am I procrastinating? What am I hiding from? When you stop running from your shadow and start integrating it, you become a whole being. You become unshakable because there is no part of yourself you haven't already conquered. Staying silent and staying alone is the only way to build authentic authority. When you finally emerge from your period of solitude, people will notice a change in your aura. It is not magic. It is the psychological weight of a man who knows himself. You no longer fidget. You no longer seek approval with your eyes. You no longer over-explain. You have spent so much time in your own company that you are no longer desperate for the company of others. This makes you the most powerful person in any room. You are there by choice, not by need. Solitude in 2026 is also about strategic anticipation. While the world is reacting to what happened 5 minutes ago, you are sitting in silence, calculating what will happen 5 months from now. You are playing chess while they are playing tag. You are analyzing the shifts in technology, the movements of the market, and the evolution of your industry. You are front-loading your success. This is why, when you eventually step back into the spotlight, your rise will seem sudden to the ignorant. They didn't see the alchemy. They didn't see the long nights where you were your only companion. Do not fear the silence of 2026. Do not fear the empty room or the quiet phone. This is the space where your greatness is being brewed. The alchemist doesn't make gold in the middle of the market square. He makes it in a hidden lab, away from prying eyes, with the fire burning hot and the doors locked tight. Lock your door. Kill the noise. Focus on the forge. The world will hear from you soon enough. And when they do, they won't just hear your voice, they will feel your power. Year 2026 is drawing to a close, and the world is about to meet a ghost for months, perhaps a year. You have been a shadow. You have been the person who didn't post, the person who didn't show up to the parties, the person who stopped answering the trivial texts. The world assumed you had fallen off, that you had given up, or that you had simply faded into the background of mediocrity. But as the curtain rises, they will realize that while they were busy projecting their own insecurities onto your absence, you were busy becoming a force of nature. This is the silent manifestation of results. Psychologically, there is no greater power than the shock of the new. When people see you every day, they see your incremental changes and they find ways to rationalize them. But when you disappear as a peasant and return as a king, the psychological impact is undeniable. You have skipped the explanation phase and gone straight to the result phase. You don't have to tell people you've been working out. Your physical presence will demand their attention. You don't have to tell people you've been building a business. Your bank account and your professional authority will speak for you. You don't have to tell them you've found peace. Your calm, steady gaze in the face of chaos will prove it. The manifestation of results in 2026 is about the weight of consistency. Most people operate on spikes of effort. They work hard for a week, shout about it on Instagram, and then collapse. You operated on a baseline of discipline. While you were silent, you were stacking micro wins every single day. You were the one who did the extra set when the gym was empty. You were the one who wrote the extra lines of code at 2 a.m. when the world was asleep. You were the one who practiced the pitch in the mirror until your voice didn't shake. These micro wins have now compounded into a macro victory. In this final stage, your silence evolves into stoic authority. You have reached a level of psychological maturity where you no longer feel the need to show off. Paradoxically, this makes people want to see more. In the attention economy of 2026, mystery is the ultimate luxury. Because you stayed silent while you were building, you haven't exhausted your social brand. You are a fresh, powerful entity entering a market saturated with loud, empty shells. You aren't just selling a product or a service. You are selling the result of a disciplined life. People are drawn to you because they can sense the depth of the work you put in. They want to know your secret, not realizing that the secret was simply the work they were too afraid to do in private. But here is the most important psychological shift. The manifestation of results is for you, not for them. When you finally achieve the goals you set in the silence of 2026, you will realize that the applause of the crowd is surprisingly quiet compared to the roar of your own self-respect. You didn't do this to show them. You did this to prove to the person in the mirror that you are a man of your word, that when you say you will do something, it gets done. This internal certainty is the highest form of wealth. It is a psychological fortress that no market crash, no social trend, and no critic can ever tear down. As you step into the light of 2027, you carry with you the lessons of the silence. You realize that you don't need to return to the noise. You can remain a silent leader. You can let your work continue to be your primary language. You have learned that the louder the person, the weaker the foundation. You have built your life on the bedrock of solitude and focus. You are now the competent man, the high-value individual, the master of self. The world will try to pull you back into the old cycles. They will want you to talk, to explain, to join the fray once again. But you know better now. You have tasted the power of the black box. You know that the best way to stay ahead is to keep a part of yourself always in reserve. Always keep them guessing. Always stay a few steps ahead in the shadows. 2026 was the year you died to your old self, and 2027 is the year you live as the person you were always meant to be. The silence wasn't a phase, it was a graduation. You have finished the forge. The blade is sharp. The empire is built. Now go out and rule it quietly,